Okay, so today I am with Liz Hernandez. Okay, and for close to 10 years, Liz has had the privilege of walking alongside companies in their growth journeys. But what truly fuels her is something deeper, helping leaders transform their own lives and the lives of others. And I think that's really going to come through in today's interview with Liz. Liz, welcome. Thank you for spending some time here today.
Thank you so much for having me, James. I'm so happy to be
Mhm.
here.
So, Liz, uh, I have seen so many of your TikTok posts, and I'm sure you're on other platforms as well. TikTok is where I see you the most. Um, it seems like you're helping so many people in many regards, not just being a great leader, but being a great human being, right? So I'm really curious, how did you start with something like this?
Well, it all started a couple of months ago, when I started publishing, or posting on TikTok, but it comes, before that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes from my parents. They are the milestone and the background of everything that I do. My dad, especially, he's an extrovert. He's very social and he likes to help people a lot. So you will see him saying hi to everyone. It doesn't matter who he is or if he doesn't really know that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw how he was treated in so many companies, and it was not the right way. So I wanted to start changing that, and I wanted to make the difference so I could help more. Oh, sorry about that.
That's
My
good.
cat is here.
That's
So I
good.
wanted to help more people like him because sadly I wasn't able, I was too little and I didn't have much power at the moment, to be able to change what he was going through. But I got into the mindset of, hey, I want to change this for other people out there, and just use the knowledge and the teachings that he gave me to change other people's lives. And then also a friend encouraged me to do this because he said that I might have something to share with the world because he worked with me. He saw my leadership style. He saw how I was able to connect with people, to help people from empathy and trying to be a different leader. So he wanted me to share that with the world. And I said, okay, let's try it and let's see how it
I've
goes.
I've
And
seen some of your posts about empathy and other aspects, and I think that really is such a great starting point for any leader is to take a step back and maybe analyze themselves about what is their I think you have a word for it, empathetic score. I don't know. Like are they really empathetic or not? But I think, yeah, for most leaders, the emphasis is so much on profit and the bottom line, and that's how they feel they're being measured. That maybe they don't understand how some of the things that you teach are going to help them be better leaders, right?
so, and I think, I still care about profit and in terms of, but I care about a deeper profit. People usually only care about the financial profit and money. I care about profit in terms of people. Like,
Mhm.
how can I make their lives better, and how can I make sure that they stay in the company, that they have a happy life? Because that's profit as well. It's just seen in a whole different way from which we
Sure.
currently see it.
That builds loyalty, and
Mhm.
it helps your people produce a good product, and your people help your customers be happy customers, and I'm sure that goes all the way through everything,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Right.
Okay. So for you personally, what in one word, how would you describe yourself as a leader?
Well, I would say that I'm a caring leader that wants to help everybody. That I am a part of their lives or their work or whatever. Whenever I meet someone, I want to make a change in their lives. And recently, I read a book that is called Dare to Lead, and I was asked to choose my two core values from a big list of values. And I was able to narrow them down to leadership and making a difference. So the way in which I operate are from those two core values. Everything that I do, I came to realize that, like in my life, in my work life, in my personal life, I try to help everybody that I can. I
Mhm.
try to, if, even though I don't have kids, I try to help kids. I have pets already, but I try to help the pets outside. So that's what I try to do in my life. So I'm a caring leader.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. So really, I think just help me understand what you mean when I see you talking about human-centered leadership. Like, is there a definition for what that would be?
Yeah, the way I defined it is a leadership that centers on taking care of people and making sure that we understand that the base of everything that we do is those humans that are, that you lead or that you help or that you are working with, not just in terms of your professional life, but also outside. Because like I have told everyone in the groups that we have, being a leader is not only in your work life, it has to be outside. You cannot just separate your two beings and say, hey, I'm going to leave my work being here and I'm going to live my personal being here. So I try to bring all of those together, mix it into one, and put humans at the center of every single decision that we make and every single thing that we do. So that's human centered leadership, making sure that we take care of that human being.
And you don't think that's part of just a normal leader? What do most leaders do different than that?
It should be. That's how it should be, but sometimes we forget about that. I think with the virtual world, we have forgotten about that connection that we need to create with people.
That's
And also, we have forgotten, like you were mentioning at the beginning, we have become too focused on profit. How do we reduce costs? How do we use, for example, AI to be able to optimize the processes that we're doing right now? And don't get me wrong, I think it's a powerful and great tool, but we're forgetting about the human behind and the fact that we need to connect with people in order to be human because, one of our
yes,
characteristics is being social. That's why we exist. And there is actually a study that I read recently from Harvard that said the key for happiness for every single human is relationships. And
absolutely.
relationships are about socializing and connecting with people.
And
So that's
and
why I think that we
family,
forget
which
it.
is by definition a human relationship. I heard a story
Exactly.
once, or I heard somebody say once that, um, you know, okay, you've been all over the world. Where is the best place in the world to live? And the answer that this man gave was wherever your family is,
Yeah.
right? Yes.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about, human-centered and AI and all of that, Sharelingo is all about language exchange. And we are seeing a lot of people trying to um, use AI to improve their language. And that's fine. It's a tool and it can be a good tool for
Hmm.
coming up with new vocabulary, but it's never going to replace um, the human connection and speaking. If you want to learn a language, you have to talk to a native speaker at some point,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
And that brings me to my next question, which is I've seen all of your posts in English and Spanish, and your English is beautiful. I'm so impressed. Mi español es, yeah, horrible. Pero tu inglés es increíble. So how did you first of all, like why? I'm curious why you do everything in English and Spanish. And how did your English get to be so good?
I'll start on the first part that you were asking. So the reason why I do this in English and in Spanish is because I'm a Latin proud woman. And I want to be able to empower the Latin community to learn all of these leadership topics because usually you found a lot of courses, like right now I'm taking one and I'm trying to translate that into my leadership style and teach people, everything that I learned because I'm still learning and I like
Of
to
course,
learn and stay curious.
of
So
course.
I try to use all of that knowledge and translate it and share it with people because I want the Hispanic community to feel empowered and to go, we have been feeling like the underdog for so many years. I want to empower them to get out of that zone and make sure that they have all of the knowledge, all of the tools to get out of that comfort zone and to
Hmm.
progress and to learn English and to learn a lot of things. So that's why I do it in both languages.
That's
And
uh,
and how I got to this level is because I was fortunate enough to go to the US and live there and actually use the language. So that's why I tell everybody the way in which you actually, you stop translating in your head is when you actually use the language for what it was meant to be, communicating
right.
with people and connecting with people. That's the only way in which the language will click in your brain. I cannot tell you the exact moment in which I stopped translated in my head, but it was when I just used it as a communication tool to
I agree.
on my daily life. Yeah.
100%. 100%. I have, for me personally, I have the opposite problem to most people. Cuando estoy hablando en español, no necesito traducir antes de hablar. Yo puedo hablar con fluidez, right? Pero falta
Mhm.
vocabulario. No entiendo la gramática. It's like most people study the language but don't have any speaking practice, so they're afraid to speak.
Right.
I can speak. I just don't have the background information, and so I hit these roadblocks a lot of times.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm really impressed. And so what I'm hearing then, Liz, is that so you're continuing to learn in your own right,
Yes.
and then you're sharing some of this knowledge that might only currently be available in English, but you're
Yes.
making that knowledge available to the Spanish speaking community, the people, your
Yes.
followers, in doing that. And at the same time, you're helping them get exposed to some English as well. And
Yes.
I'm like, good on you. That's good job, Liz. That is, right up. That's something I'm super passionate about, right? Is the idea that uh, the Anglo and the Latino and Hispano communities that we can live and work close together and share each other's culture and language and just be one big happy family. So
Yeah.
thank you for doing that.
No worries. I'm,
Was
I'm happy
there
to help.
was there any particular moment in your own journey uh, that made you think about a more human-centered approach?
Yes. So I think that the moment in which I started to think about a more human-centered type of leadership was there were two moments. One, when I joined Amazon, which was one of the companies that I work for, and I was able to learn and be trained in a whole different leadership style that was leading in a toward culture, which is basically a kinder culture in which we think more
That
about
was
the human.
You said that was at Amazon?
Yes, yes, at Amazon.
Fantastic. Okay, keep
Uh,
going.
and also that was one of the key moments. And I also was able to have a great mentor, Angela. She was the one that told me something that I haven't forgotten just up to this point, and it is you don't have to lose your essence to be a good leader, and that's what I try to remind myself every single time.
That's
Um, and the second moment, it was a hard moment for me because after that experience, I went to another company and I was harassed for a year. It was a difficult time for me because it was a lady who harassed me, and I always have think that ladies, within us, we should be allies, we should work together and build ourselves up. And I try to
Yeah.
Exactly. And I try to do that all the time, but she just made my life, I'm gonna say it like that. She made my life miserable for a whole year. And she took a couple of things away from me at that moment. Part of my identity, like my learning and curiosity, she took it away for a little bit. So when I was able to recover that, when I was able to overcome the trauma that she caused, I said, hey, this is a canonical event for me. It has to make me stronger, and it has to make sure that I pass on this knowledge to other people and not just stay with this. And I cannot allow any other person to go through the same thing that I went through
Hmm.
because there are not better leaders out there. So I want to make sure that I build a whole community of good leaders that don't harass people and don't make people feel less than they actually are.
And so that was a fork in your life,
Yes.
and you could have gone negative, but
Yeah.
you chose to stay positive and, in fact, use that experience to help other people.
Yeah.
Um, that's fantastic. Also, it seems like I'm saying that a lot today. So then, Liz, if you want, if you're well, explain how do you help other leaders em- embrace and embody this approach that you're showing them? Like how I have a company. How would you advise somebody like me to uh, make this part of their leadership style?
Well, I think first of all, I would say it's a process, and it is not something that happens from one day to the other. I was reluctant at first, to embrace this leadership style because before Amazon, I was in a different company that had a different leadership style. So I was a bit reluctant. It did help the fact that, my parents had such a human side and that they taught me to be the best human possible, but still, there was reluctance in myself. So, like I said, it's not going to be from one day to the other. So, the first thing that I will say is you should start from the head down. So, you should start from the CEO of the company, you should start from the leaders of the company because and actually I learned this recently, most employees say that 69% that their leaders has to do more with their mental health than their actual psychologists or their families. So and 69% of employees say that. So that's a huge impact. We as leaders have a very big impact on people's mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to understand that. We need to understand the impact that we're having in people's lives. We need to understand that we spend a lot of time together, right? When you work 8 hours or 10 hours per day, multiply that by 5 days and then times
Mm-hmm.
4 weeks per month. So that's a lot of time that you spend together, and you have to start with the leaders. But it's a change of mentality. And something that I always do is try to help people change step by step that mentality and understanding the impact that that has on their people. And, helping them also have a safe space as leaders because maybe the way that they lead comes from their past traumas. We don't know that.
That's true.
Um, and that reflects a lot on what they do. So I try to start by that, understanding the leaders that we have, given them that safe space, teaching them, how this leadership can have a better impact, a positive impact actually in their teams, and also seeing the winnings that they could have with this new leadership style. And then I will say that I will start with the following people in the chain. It could be employees or supervisors, whichever comes, after that. And again, I'll start building that mindset in people. And
Right.
something that I have found is that if you start by getting to know people, their motivations, you can connect with them easily and you can actually help to change their mindsets. Same thing that what we're doing right now with with TikTok and everything that I'm doing right now. I've seen that people at the beginning were a bit reluctant to what I was telling them
Uh-huh.
because they were like, oh, but that doesn't work because it's just in my company it works in a whole different way and they don't listen to me and they don't do this or they don't do that. But when they started seeing me every single day, helping them and teaching them things, they started to change that mindset. And now I'm hearing them use words like empathy, like, oh, I went and talked to my leader and I told him this. I gave him feedback. I did this or I did that. And I'm just so proud of them.
Uh,
But it all starts, like I said, with the first people and in the company, the CEOs and all of those people
if you
changing their
can reach
mindset.
them, if you can reach them,
Exactly.
right?
And also making sure that you know people. You have in the first session that I have with my teams is a get to know you one to one. I don't talk about work. I don't talk about metrics. I don't talk about anything else. I just want to get to know you. And from that point on, I start understanding their motivations. I start understanding what drives them. And it's just wonderful how that specific moment can build a lot of trust.
That is something that I preach. It's a cultural difference between Anglos and Latinos, Americans, estadounidenses. Okay. And I think Canada is a lot like that also. We are right to the point. Not as bad as Germans, but pretty business oriented. Sit down at a
Yes.
meeting and, okay, why are we here? What are we going to do? Right. Whereas I find uh, Latino culture, to some extent, the European culture, um, is much more about the personal relationship. And first we get to know each other and then we do business. Right. And I think there are pros and cons on both sides.
Yeah, that's true.
I do think that we get more done faster,
Hmm.
but I think the relationships are much stronger and there's much more trust
Yes.
in the Latino way of doing things. I find that I have changed because now I deal with so many different cultures. Um, well, what happened with us? I was curious about you and your cat and everything, and where you live and temperature and all that stuff that we talked about. Um, so you are dealing now with, like, on your TikToks. Uh, you don't just see people from Colombia. You're seeing, I see people in your group from de todas partes, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, uh, is there any difference? Do you see differences between different participants?
Yes, so there are cultural differences in terms of how we speak, and not just, and we're speaking the same language, right? It's not about that, but the idioms, the particular things that we use in our countries that are seen, in a good eye, and then in another country seen in a whole different way. So there are a lot of cultural differences, but what I have learned, which is something beautiful, and it is that we share the same humanity and we speak the
Yes.
same human language.
Yes.
Because I ask questions about, hey, what are your biggest fears? And I have come to realize that most of us have the same fears.
Of course.
Most of us have the same pains. Most of us have suffered depression, anxiety. Of course, it has been, transformed in a different way, and you have maybe lived it in a different way, but again, it comes from the same place, from the same humanity. So that's something beautiful that I've seen there. And we have been able to create a very respectful community in which we all
I've
understand that
seen
we're
that.
different,
Yes.
but we love that from each other. That hasn't stopped us from interacting.
Agree. And I think the way I phrase that is there was a thing in the United States a while back about um, not like there's no difference between your color or your race or, everybody's the same. And I don't agree. I do not agree. Uh, I think your race, your religion, your country of origin, it defines you and it can be celebrated. I
Hmm.
think it's like men and women. I think men and women are different, equal,
Yeah.
equal, but different, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
and should be, right? And I think where your culture comes from, we need to be aware of and celebrate and learn from other people's cultures,
Yeah,
right? And
that's true.
so what you're doing, um, and I think what Sharelingo is trying to do, is to bring those cultures together and
Exactly.
celebrate that. Well, great. Is there anything else that you would like to tell whoever might be watching this today that you'd like to share with them about how to get started, uh, how to find you, or just start on their own path to being a more human-centered leader?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I would like to tell them. First, I will say that it is completely okay to be you and do not, the same advice that I received from my mentor. Keep your essence, integrate your essence into every single thing that you do, because that will make the difference and that will make you be successful in everything that you start doing. So even if it is, learning a new language or starting a new project, starting a new business, or, whichever adventure you want to go into, always keep your essence and don't lose track of that. And the second thing is try to take away your own lenses. Like you said, all of our experiences, all of our learnings have built the way in which we see the world, but
Mm-hmm.
just take them away for a little bit and start, seeing the other realities, start understanding them. They don't have to change your point of view, they don't have to change your reality. That's completely fine. But what if we start seeing things from a different point of view and we start taking into account and validating and understanding other people's point of view? Maybe we could be more respectful, we could understand each other better, and we could build
Absolutely.
a whole culture. So those will be the two things that I will say to people out there that want to change their type of leadership and that they want to make a change in the world. Because again, being a leader is not just in the workplace, it's outside of the workplace as well.
I 100% agree. Uh, well, good. Okay, Liz. Thank you for being here with me today. It's such a pleasure to talk with you and start to become friends. I'm sure that we'll talk a lot in the future. So, with that, feel free. How do people contact you, Liz? Through.
Yeah, so you can go ahead, guys, and contact me through TikTok. I have my account is Liderando con Liz. That's my username in TikTok. You can just send me a direct message. Or also I do lives Monday to Friday at 6:30 p.m. in which we talk about all of these
Hora
topics.
de Bogotá.
Yes, or Central Time. I think we're aligned to Central Time right
Right
now.
now. Right now.
And then you can find me there. You can come up. We can chat about different leadership topics, and we also do it in English, which is a plus. You can
Yes.
practice there. So just find me there. Also on Instagram, I have the same username if you want to find me there. So just go ahead and feel free to contact me for anything that you need. I have been contacted for people who have mental issues, for example, and they have shared their experiences, and I'm trying to help them in the best way possible because I'm not an expert, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm just here to help. And anything that I can
That's
do to
beautiful.
that is just wonderful.
That's beautiful.